Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Man podcast. My name is Rory Paquette. I am, as always, your very grateful host. My goodness, am I grateful, folks. You have just blown up. You've gone crazy. And I want to thank every one of you for that craziness because you guys are liking, you're subscribing, you're listening, you're downloading. When we made the move to 5 days a week, I wasn't sure if it was going to be just a little too much power man for you. But you folks have actually just consumed all of it. And I think one of the reasons that you are is because we keep bringing on awesome, powerful speakers like we have today. And I'm going to tell you about him in just a minute. But you know we got to do a couple of things first. But I think that's one of the reasons. And I want to thank you, all of you, for what you're doing. Because if you're not doing what you're doing out there, I don't get to do what I get to do sitting over here. And this is my best life, and I can't believe I get to live it. And it's all because of you. So thank you, and thank you. Very grateful. Now, before we get rolling and I introduce this young man to tear things up, I need a little caffeine because I probably can't keep up with this young buck. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a sip of our preferred beverage. Man, I just heated it up in between interviews. It's really hot. Good stuff, though. Deep, dark, rich, bold, beautiful. Just like my wife. You guys all know what we're drinking. That's right. It's Freedom Hill Coffee. At Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Go check them out. They are the best. They're awesome. They brew a mean bean. They do all the right things for all the right reasons. And they support veterans, which, as you know, on this show is of the utmost importance. We support veterans like no other. So do they. We support them. It all works out in tandem. Go check them out. At Freedom Hill Coffee on Instagram. Tell them Power Man sent you. Let me get one more sip of this just fine brew. Like I said, I'm going to need some caffeine to keep up with this guy across the table from me. So, without further ado, I want to welcome, and I hope you folks will help me welcome. We're going to hear applause in the background. I can just tell. This awesome guy to the podcast today. He's a father. He's a husband. He is a public speaker. He's a leader. He's a teacher and has an awesome course we're going to tell you guys about later. And one of my favorite things, he's a host of the Firm My Life podcast. He's a podcaster, just like yours truly. Please welcome to the show, Nathan Littleton. Nathan, how you doing, man?
Good, Roy. Thank you so much for having me on.
I
I'm excited
appreciate
about today.
you. I'm glad. I'm glad.
Yes, sir.
I love this guy's voice. I love his accent. You're going to love it too. I think it's going to be fantastic. Nathan, I know you have a lot going on. Okay. In addition to, your wife, Stacy, and 4 kids, man, which at your age, I'm already shocked. And I mean, round of applause to you for that, because that's an accomplishment all by itself. But tell us all about, who is Nathan Littleton? What are you about, brother? And what brings you here today?
Well, man, I tell you, having 4 kids is a full-time job for sure. Oh my. Speaking of the accent, I was visiting some family in California the other day, and they asked me, said, "Where are you from?" I said, "Well, I'm from Texas." So I knew you was from Texas.
Right.
Gives it away, right?
Yep.
Oh man. Well, so man, I'm a public speaker and a coach. I have a course that I wrote. And man, it all really just started from my journey. I had a small business and man, I was a go-getter. I grew up in a family that just hardworking family. We worked for everything that we had. And my dad was a business owner, blue collar business owner. So I wanted to be like him. So I started a business at 19 and I had a small body shop. I was painting cars. And the thing about business is it requires more than hard work and ambition, right? You got to have some wisdom, and some
Right.
ability to make financial decisions. And those are the things I didn't have, right? I just didn't know it at the time. So
Right.
one thing after another, if you got any mechanics on here, they know what a snap-on truck is. And so when the snap-on truck showed up, man, it's like a Bass Pro Shop to a fisherman. And one thing after another, I just kept buying more and more things and more tools. And I thought they were smart investments that, hey, it's going to make me get more business, right? I need this new welder. I need this new AC machine. I need this new, um, what was the other one? Oh, it was a LED sign. I need
Mm.
this $10,000 sign. All these things. I'm gonna be that big businessman. So, well, it all just kind of came crashing down on me,
Yeah.
and as bad decisions will lead you to do, right? And just
Right.
it all fell in. And I found that I'd built my life on something that it couldn't stand, the storms that life brings. There's a story in the Bible about two builders, one who built his house upon the rock and one who built his house upon the sand. And I was that guy who built his house upon the sand. And I found that a lot of the things was my own bad decisions, my own things I'd done, but it resulted in storms in my life and it all came crashing down. And that's kind of the beginning of where my whole this career of speaking and coaching came from. Just that journey from that point of really just everything falling apart, my business going under, my faith was on the rocks, my confidence was lost, my marriage was struggling. There were so many things that, just the anxiety, the stress, the worry, the just not being able to provide. My identity was wrapped around, being a man, being able to provide, being able to do these things. And when it all came down, I felt hopeless. I felt lost. And that journey from that point to where I am today is really what my whole course, whole thing the whole message I'm trying to share with the world is all about.
Yeah, I hear that loud and clear, and I know that everybody who's listening right now is hearing that and feeling it. As men, as husbands and fathers, it's our mission to protect, provide for, lead our families. And when
Right.
you
Yes, sir.
can't do that, and when you're stopped from doing that, and especially when it's by your own doing, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's very hard to get back up and look at yourself in the mirror and reclaim any pride. So, you're not alone, brother, in how you felt. I
Yes,
talk to men
sir.
every day who felt that way. But, the real question is, what do you do after you fall? And I think you found a pretty solid way of getting back up.
And I tell you, after that all happened, I got a sales job. I was working for a corporate company, and I wasn't getting ahead. I wasn't paying all the debt off. I wasn't, but I was buying groceries. I was keeping the lights on. And I remember I started listening to podcasts. I started reading books. I started just trying to learn. And one day I was headed to work, and I was listening to a podcast. I don't remember which one it was. I listened to a lot. And this guy came on and he said these words. He said, "No one is coming to save you. Your life is your responsibility." And I'm telling you, man, it hit me like a sucker punch to the gut. I mean, just, because in my mind, I had all these reasons why it didn't work out. I could point fingers at this person, my dad or my mom or my raising or, my background or the government or the economy or the bad employees that I had, the bad customers that I had, all these different things. But when I came to that place in my life where I realized it really didn't matter whose fault it was my life. So that meant it was my responsibility. It was something I had to do. And so that's really where the shift came. And where I just really, I guess you could say I manned up, right? Is that if that's a term, where I just said, you know what? It doesn't matter whose fault anymore. It doesn't matter who's to blame. It's my life. I've got to do something about it. And that's really where the shift began.
Man, I mean, for you to have hit that at such a young age, it takes a lot of men decades to hit that point where they finally stop blaming everybody else and they realize, hey, yeah, maybe this person did this, but then what did I do? Maybe this
Right.
person did this or this happened with the economy, but what did I do? You can
Yes.
blame a million things, and man, I've been there too. I lost everything, just like you did, and
Yeah.
mine was brutal. We won't talk about that. That's episode one for
Yeah.
everybody. If you haven't listened to episode one yet, by the way, folks, go back and listen to episode one. All right, because it's premise for the whole show. But anyway, coming back to you, this is about you. So, for you to have realized that is gigantic. So, I want to ask you, how did you come to that? Because it's one thing to say, hey, I realized this. It's another thing to say, how did you get to the point where you realized that?
Yeah. Well, this is the way I look back at it and see. I remember through that season, man, I just began to do a lot of deep soul searching. Like I grew up in church. I knew all about God, but there was just when you go through something like that, you begin to question everything, right? You want to know answers. And so
Right.
I really began to look and I really began to search. And here recently, actually, I heard a song, Dax, Dax is his name. He came out with a song called Lonely Dirt Road. And he talks about being out, trying to find God on a lonely dirt road. And man, I thought back to those years ago. So that's exactly what happened with me. Man, I'd just get in a pickup truck. I just drive till I found some place, no traffic, no people. And I just began to just look deep, look inside me. Who was I? Who did I want to be? What kind of man did I want to be? I knew who I was. I knew, the decisions I'd made. I knew, everything that was going on in my life, but who did I really want to be? And I remember, man, something inside of me just, I found a little spark, a little flame, just a little bit of hope that maybe this could turn around. Maybe I could provide for my family. Maybe I could be more than just, a failure or loser. That's what my inner talk was telling me, right? I wasn't enough. I wasn't good enough. But just something inside there, it's just hope is the only way I know how to explain it. Roy's just something that I could be more. And that's really what caused me to just start looking for something else, looking for advice, looking for wisdom. That's when I began reading books, began listening to podcasts, just began searching because I had hope that things could change.
Nice. Now I know that your faith is very important to you, just from our conversation early on. I
Yes,
won't
sir.
I won't go into all that. I'll let you if you want to, but
All right.
I'm curious. You know, what kind of role did your faith play in your rebound and your comeback and being able to look at yourself with those truthful eyes and figure out what was going on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to talk about this because I think it's very important. I grew up in church, like I said, but I grew up in a very um, legalistic, religious type church. And so I knew what I felt like everything there was to know about God. I'd read the Bible from cover to cover. I'd been to Sunday school my entire life. I knew all of those things, but I really didn't know God. Like I didn't have a relationship with him. I just kind of saw him as some kind of like a judge, somebody ready to, if I made a mistake, if I did this or did that. And that's one of the reasons I think that I felt so low because I felt like I let God down. I let my parents down. I let my family down, my wife down, my kids down. And it was like during those low moments, when I began to question, I found God for myself. I found him in a way that was so much more than just church, just religion, just reading your Bible, just, doing all the things that you do at church. Like I found him for myself. I learned that I could talk to him about everything. And I think more importantly, I learned how to hear him talk to me, down those lonely dirt roads all by myself with nobody around. Sometimes I was angry, sometimes I was mad, sometimes I was sad, sometimes I cried, sometimes I shouted, but that's where I found God and God found me. And from that moment forward, it's just been a journey to just truly get to know him, who he is, and just allow him to work in my life on a personal level.
Nice. Well said, by the way. Um, so how do you go from where you were? Um, the realization, that hey, this is my fault. I got to take ownership. How do you go from there to, I mean, blowing up the way that you have with all of the fantastic things you have in your life? What first steps do you take to get up off the ground, dust yourself off, and climb out of that hole?
Man, here's what I would say. My family and I, we like to sit around and play cards and just have a good time. And I remember back in those times, I began to really look at the cards that life had dealt me. When you're playing cards, you have good cards and you have bad cards, right? You have some cards that you like and some that you don't. And I remember I began to look and said, "Hey, I've got this low self-esteem. I've got this mountain of debt. I've got these bad mindsets. I've got these broken identities. I have all these things that are against me, and then I've got some good cards, right? I have two hands, I have 2 feet. I have the ability to grow, to learn, to change. I had a wife who wanted us to win. I was handsome and good looking. I mean, at least that's what she said, right? Oh man. So anyway, right. I had good cards, not bad cards. And so I had to come to that place in my life when I just really took a good look at everything. And I said, you know what? I'm going to decide to play or fold. It's only two options you have when you play cards. Folding means I give up, I quit, I give in, I just whatever happens, happens. Life's just kind of just already played out and whatever, I just go with it. But playing means I take ownership. It means I take action. It means I do something about it. And, I've met a lot of people, Rory, that, life can deal some bad hands sometimes, some rough cards. Just you mentioning your story. I need to go back and listen to that episode. But it does. Life throws us some curveballs at times. And the thing is, man, that first step is just taking a good look at your life and deciding you're going to play, deciding you're going to take responsibility, you're going to move forward. Even if you really don't know what that means, even if you really don't have a clear action plan, just having the mindset of, I'm going to be different than I am today. I think that's the very beginning.
Nice. So where'd you start? What was the first thing you went out and did to like start doing something to start moving forward?
Well, for me, this may be a little weird, but here was the first thing for me. I joined the gym.
That's not
That
weird
was
at
the
all.
moment.
That's
That
smart.
was that was the turnaround. Yes, sir. And the reason for that is I found that I had no discipline in my life, no consistency in my life. And that just I didn't know anything about the gym. I never been in the gym before. I didn't know the equipment, how to use it. I mean, I was the newbie, right? I see those guys walk in nowadays. I used to be that guy. But at just 3 times a week, 30 minutes a day. That was my plan. And it's been years now and I've never missed that. And just that was the one small little bitty step. And that's the way I teach in my curriculum, especially in my keynote. Like, find one thing, one habit, one just small thing. And I recommend something physical activity, especially for us guys. Like,
Yeah,
just do something. If it's 20 push ups a night, just one habit, because it will begin to build consistency. It will lead to another good habit and another good habit. And that's exactly what happened to me, man. I wanted to start eating better. Then I started looking at my time. And then I kind of started cleaning up my life, and just physical, actual small things, just doing it. But yeah, that was the first step for me. I joined the gym,
excellent.
started working out.
That is so huge. Joining the gym is so huge for guys who are trying to like change their lives, turn a corner, come back. And it's not about building muscles or even looking good, even though
Right.
your wife might think that which is great that she thinks you're good looking. But it's about doing, and it's about taking control of something that you actually can control. There's so many things in
Exactly
our
right.
lives that we cannot control, and
Yeah.
and we surrender most of those to God. But
Yeah.
at some point, you do, as a man, have to take control of something. And
Yeah.
man, the gym is the one thing you can walk in the door and you can do what you can do. You don't
Mm.
have to go bench press
Yeah.
400 pounds. You do what you
Exactly.
can do,
Exactly.
but you're doing it. And every
Yeah.
time you get done and you leave there, you've accomplished something. And man, that the compound effect of that leads into everything else in your life. And I'm assuming that you
Exactly
found
right.
that with the gym. Yeah. So that led you to
Yes, sir.
where? What happened after that? Was it the podcast? Was it, course? Was it another job? How'd you end up where you are now?
Man, really, it was a journey. I ended up sold my house I had a home that I'd built. Like I said, we grew up blue collar, so we were builders, and so I sold my home. I'd bought the business, the building that I had my shop in. So I sold it, and my wife and I moved with 3 kids into a little 20-foot RV with one slide in it, and we lived in that thing for 6 months in my parents' yard, which is it was rough, right? You think going from I'm all independent, I'm mature, I have all these things together, and all of a sudden reduced to that. But I'm a big follower of Dave Ramsey, and when he says live like nobody else, so later you can live like nobody
Like
else. So
nobody
we
else.
we did that for 6 months and sold all those properties, and I ended up building another smaller home, paid for and paid off most of my debt. So that was kind of the beginning there. It was really hard phase of life, but it was worth it to get out from underneath all that. So that was it. Yes, sir.
It's stuff like that men aren't willing to do.
Yeah.
I did an episode a long time ago called "The Man in the Corner," and I refer to this a lot, and that's so my listeners are going to kind of get what I'm trying to draw here. Men would rather take a bullet, because everybody will say, "Oh, I'll take a bullet for my kids." That's great, but would you stand on the corner and hold a sign because you were that desperate? And most men
Yeah.
won't because they would rather take a bullet than be
Hmm.
embarrassed and lose their dignity, and bring themselves
Right.
down a few notches. That could not have been easy to move into an RV at your mom and dad's house for 6 months trying to rebuild. That had to be tough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but you did it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You know
Yes,
what? I
sir.
mean, power to you, man. because you did it and you used it the way it was supposed to be used. You didn't just go there and give up. You used it and said, you know what, there's a reason we're doing this. It's part of a plan. And now we're moving
Yeah.
forward. And
Yeah.
you ended up buying your house, cash, and are you debt free at this point too? I mean, it's Dave
Man,
Ramsey
very,
time.
very close. Yeah, very, very close.
Nice.
Yeah. Yes,
Love
sir.
it. Love it for you. That's great. All right. What happened next, man? I'm in the story now. I got to know. So what happened? What happened next? We got the house now. You're
Oh, I,
rebuilding. You're
yeah,
rebuilding your life. You're a new guy. You're still good looking. I mean, come on. What do you got to lose?
for sure, man. It's kind of shocking to me how when you're really trying and you're really working, especially even on your relationship with God, how God will open the doors for you. And it just in the right time, just it's like you keep going, and then all of a sudden there's the door. And it's happened so many times in my life. It would be a podcast, it would be a video, it would be something that just popped up and it would be the thing right then that spoke to me. And so I lived that journey for several years, and man, I was just really digging, trying to figure out what do I do from here? Because, I was coaching a lot of young men at the church, and really, they didn't all have my story, but it was still the same struggles, right? Trying to find who you are, trying to overcome your identity, just wanting to be that man, that father one day, all those things. And so I was like, how can I get this out there? How can I, you know, reach the world with my story? And man, I just said, you know what? I'm going to record a course. I don't even know where the idea came from. So I went and bought a laptop and a computer, microphone, and just went at it. Like I knew nothing. I didn't know. I'd never seen a microphone before. Well, I mean, I used a microphone, but a camera rather. I'd never been recorded on a camera. That was a whole new thing. And editing videos, and I just went out there and did it. And about 3 months ago, I had worked on this program for the last year, 2024. I spent the whole year on that and working a full-time job as well, but doing it on my extra time. And I got it all finished, and I was like, man, how do I go to the market with it? How do I really make this excellent? And I was listening to a podcast actually, Ed Milet. Have you ever heard
Oh
of that
yeah.
guy?
Oh yeah.
And so I was listening to Ed Milet, and he was interviewing a guy named Roy Vaden, and which is they have a company that helps people like me get started, launch a course, launch a speaking career. And it just, man, it was the exact time. Like I had finished my course about a week before this podcast released. And so I got connected with them, and they kind of walked me through how to really get launched. So like I said, man, when it comes to it, you just get on the journey and follow God, do your best, and he's going to open the doors for you. And he's going to make it happen for you. Just keep going. A lot of hard times, a lot of dark days, a lot of rough things, but you just hold on through it, man. I don't know anything else, but just hold on. Just keep pushing. You've been there, right?
Oh yeah, and I love that. I love that. I mean, you did this Gary V style. You just took messy action and said, you know what, just start.
That's right. That's
Love it.
right.
Love it. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, tell everybody what's the podcast about? What's the subject matter of it? What's the purpose of the podcast itself?
Yeah. So, man, Firm My Life podcast. Firm is an acronym for four things. These were the four things that I found through my journey. These were the four things that I realized were the big, big key things in my life that really shifted for me. So, the first letter is F for faith. About your relationship with God, basically, how to go from knowing about God to knowing God personally. The second one is identity, which is what you think about yourself. And really, it's all about self confidence, self worth. The third one is R for relationships. And relationships have the power to make you or break you. Everybody will tell you that if you're listening to anything out there. And so that's one that really was a big one in my life. And also just how to be a good dad, man. That was just took me a while to really dive into that, and how to be a good husband. Man, a lot of people, you hear all kinds of things about that, but to actually be a leader in your home, it's not as easy as it's just going out there and trying it. Like you got to put some effort into it, some time into it. And then the last one is M for money, is just how to make more money, some good, just money principles that I learned along the way. So that's kind of what I built the speaking about, the course about, and then the podcast about too. So really what I do, I'm just, kind of getting going with this is I record and release a 5 to 10 minute episode, just a little clip answering one question on one of those four topics. And I just practical, easy to understand, common sense wisdom. That's my kind of go-to.
Hmm.
Like I grew up in that town that you hear about in every country song, right? Just normal country boy, just normal living. And so I want to give that back, just the practical, easy to understand, common sense wisdom. So that's kind of the idea of the podcast.
Nice. Nice. All right. Well, so that's the podcast, and I know that that's kind of your way to get the word out, and that's good. I
Yes,
get
sir.
the firm acronym. It makes a lot of sense, and I see it on the wall behind you there too. So I was wondering what that meant. I was like, all right, yeah,
Yeah,
good. Now,
yeah,
now I
that's
get
it.
it. Um, the uh, the course, was this all part of the same like package from the Ed Milet interview guy, that you kind of got going, or what is the course teaching people how to do?
Yeah, so that started a year ago, and it's basically the same. It's Firm My Life course is what I call it, and so it teaches the same things. And what it is it's a 5-part series that I recorded, and each series it's a video lesson, so it's roughly 30-minute lesson on just specifically on those principles. I try to keep it short, but it's very full of a lot of information. So after that is I jump on a one-on-one Zoom call with the client, and I have a list of questions that they have beforehand, and we go through that video lesson. So I don't have to like do the actual coaching. They can go through, they listen to the video first, but then we really dive deep into those principles and how they apply to your life, make it personal, right? Make it applicable to you. So it is very much as any course is, like it's you get out of it what you put into it. And so somebody that wants change, that wants to build a firm foundation in their life, and then that's who it's for. A young man that's looking for something bigger, something beyond where they are today. And that's just my goal is to get you to that place. I kind of look at it like a rocket ship, right? You have to have a foundation to launch that ship. So my goal is to help you build that foundation, and then where you go from there, man, it's all in your ballpark.
Nice.
That's the idea.
Nice. So it's that at the consumer's own pace
Yes,
then,
sir. Yes,
because
sir.
when they finish
Right.
it, then they schedule the call. But if they're not finished, they don't
Right.
schedule the call yet.
That's
Interesting.
exactly right. It's up to
Okay.
them. Yes, sir.
Nice. Nicely done. Very cool. All right. You keep saying young people, young people, young people, and I know that you are young people, so I get that. Is that, am I reading that right? That's your primary focus is with younger folks who are kind of like trying to start off and find their place?
It is, and man, it's, it can apply to all men, I guess, that are looking to build that foundation. But, that's when I first built it, the original is those young men that are, in their 20s, that are just, they're trying to find that base in their life.
Yeah.
They're looking for more. They're looking for something to build strength, stability, and purpose. That's my call line there. So, yes, that's who it's primarily for, is those young men, but I've met a lot of men that just they're looking for a reset. They're in their 30s and 40s and they're needing that reset. So, it's just if you're ready, you want to put the time in, you want to put the work in, and it's for you.
Nice. Do you work with women too?
No, I don't through the course. Obviously through the church and my wife, we work hand in hand ministry, so we've done a lot of coaching and a lot of teaching, towards women. But my primary focus at this time is to the men. I feel like if I can make a shift there and I can teach men how to be leaders and how to be leaders in their homes, then I can really affect them all. So
Nice. And then the public speaking that you do, is that the same firm principles and you're trying to kind of put that out there? Is one designed to, like, is the public speaking designed to get people to the podcast or vice versa? Or is it all about getting them to the course? How do you structure your
yeah,
the different legs of your business?
yeah. So the speaking is, to drive people to the course, and that's really what I want. I feel like I can truly make a difference in people's lives in that area. But I don't really the speaking is not necessarily towards young men only. It's more of a prime audience to all. I've structured it that way so that, and it's not just a, hey, if you, listen to my speech, go get my course. It's also a, hey, let me help you right here today, and give you some things to change your life now. And because I'm telling you, and you've probably experienced this in your life, man. One speech, one podcast, one book just totally changed your life. It's happened in my life many times and just even unexpectedly. But I show up and I hear somebody speak at a conference or a message or sermon or whatever it is, and I leave never the same. And so that's really my goal with the speaking. Yes, I want to drive people to the course. Yes, I want to drive them to the podcast. But ultimately, my goal is just to help people anywhere I can. And I
Mm,
don't mean that in a cliche way. Like I mean that sincerely. So that's it's a little different, but it's still along the same lines of let's get a foundation in your life and let's build something that you can move forward on.
nice. No, I think people can tell that you mean it. I mean, you come across very authentic. So, I mean, you're not a used car salesman, brother. Everybody can tell
Right,
that.
right.
So, very, very cool.
Yes,
Let me
sir.
ask you this. You've cited a lot of very influential people, I mean, from Dave Ramsey to Ed Milet. I mean, just right off the top of your head. Um,
Yeah.
so let me ask you this, though. Maybe you can't narrow it down. Maybe it's two or three, but is there one person that, one influence that has been more of an influence towards, getting you out of where you were, getting you on the path you're on than the other ones?
That's a good question. Man, I would have to say that probably Ed Milet would be the man that
Hmm.
I feel like has really spoken to my life a lot and obviously I have actually met him just for 5 seconds, at a speech one time. And I'll tell you, man, the guy's passion is just authenticity. I mean, the guy there was probably around 8 to 10,000 people there, and there was some 10, 12 speakers. And when he came out, I don't think there was a dry eye in the place. And they gave an altar call when the guy walked off. Like it was just unbelievable. And just his passion as a podcast host, the way he interviews people and does things, like just I really like the guy. So like I said, I don't know him. I don't know. I probably never actually get to really meet him, but he would have to be the one for me.
Hey, don't say never. Don't say never. You never know. You
Right.
never
It's
know.
true.
I could
True.
tag him in this podcast and he could give you a call. You never know. We
That would
reach
be amazing.
a lot of people, brother. So yeah, you have no
Yeah.
idea,
Yeah.
but that's interesting. Eh, I love that. I love that. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, caught me by surprise. I better take another sip of my preferred beverage.
Yeah. You better do that.
I'm just going to say I planned that so I could get another plug for my sponsor. We're going to move on. All right. Listen, so this is great. I love the story. I love the trip that you've taken. Love the journey. And what's next? What's next for Nathan? What's the next step, man? Where do you take all this from here?
Man, it's my passion to reach people. And, I hope this goes somewhere that you can influence as many people as possible. One day maybe I leave a book or something behind, but I just, man, I want to share the story and I feel the call on my life to do that and to reach people. So I really don't know where it goes. I'm here to meet as many people as I can, get connected with them, get on podcasts like yours. And it's been incredible, man, just getting to meet you and just see where God takes this, honestly. I'm along for the ride and man, just I believe lives are going to be changed. That's my goal.
All right. Sounds good to me, man. It's been great having you on here. Let me do this. I do this sometimes, not all the time, but somebody like you especially. We've talked about a lot of stuff and a lot of pieces of your life. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the floor for the last couple
Hmm.
minutes to kind of wrap us up here. And if there's anything that I missed, that I
Hmm.
didn't bring up that I should have, if there's anything that maybe we talked about, but you want to drive home a little more, or maybe
Yeah.
there's a nugget that you want to leave behind for everybody. Any of those things, all three of those, it's fine with me. Last few minutes are for you. The floor is yours, sir. Welcome to the Power of Man. What do you got?
All right. And this is what I'd like to share. I've mentioned this a couple times, but I want to drive this home. When I was going through all those things and I was really beginning that journey, I was like, hey, I want to become more than I am. I want to be different, and I've made a list of what kind of man that I wanted to be. And I began to push towards that. If I was to look back and I was to give myself a piece of advice in that day, I would tell them myself, I would say, you don't know what you don't know. Become a learner. If I just looking back, if I would have been a learner in those days, I don't think I would have made the mistakes that I made. If I would have been that guy that if I would have been a reader then, if I'd have been listening to podcasts like this one then, if I would have been applying myself then, I feel like I could have saved myself a lot of heartache and I could have got to where I'm at and where I'm trying to go a lot faster. So get out there and learn. Right. I've heard so many people, I hear it all the time. Well, I don't like to read. Well, look, man, most of my reading is done on Audible, right? You just get it, listen to it, man. Listen to it in the gym, listen to it in the truck. There's really no excuse to not know in the day and age that we live in. So go out there and learn. And I believe just for everybody that's listening, you were made for something great. You were made to do something awesome with your life, but you've got to apply yourself. You've got to look at those cards in your hand. You've got to decide, am I going to play or fold? You've got to decide to play. It's really the only option. Accept full responsibility for your life and go get it. And that's my advice to you today.
I mean, that's a great mic drop right there to end everything, man. I love it. Absolutely love it. Thank you for sharing that and for everything else that you brought with you today, Nathan. It was great, and I appreciate you being here a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you,
All right.
Roy. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Folks, you've heard another episode of the Power Man podcast, a really good one. Very impressed with this young man. He's going to be doing a lot. Got a feeling we're going to see him on stage with Ed Milet one of these days. Maybe I can get a ticket. That'd be awesome. Nathan Littleton, everybody. The reason that we do this, the reason that we bring these powerful men on here talking about these really powerful messages, especially the ones like he brought today, where there's no reason to stay down when you get knocked down, when you can turn to God and get a hand up, when you can admit to yourself that you made these mistakes and it's up to you to fix them, then you can go on and you actually have the power to create. You have the power to fight back. You have the power to do what you need to do. And the biggest issue, folks, is that you have to understand that you have value. You are worth it. You're worth the fight. You just got to believe it. Until next time.